Hey, this is Meridith, Elliott, Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning, my favorite time of the week, time for a Sales Logic podcast. Mark, what are you up to this week?
Well, I'm up to doing a lot of things. First of all, continuing my running, but we've been playing a lot with the Sales Logic Brain this week with some of our members in the mastermind group. If you haven't joined Sales Logic Mastermind, get into it because, you know, you got a pretty good brain. I guess I got a pretty good brain and it cranks out some really good stuff. What are we talking about? It's about an artificial intelligence tool that members get to access.
Yeah, it is a benefit of being in the mastermind. I mean, think about this. Any question you've got, any concern, anything that you need to know about how to sell more effectively at any time, if you are a member of the Sales Logic Mastermind, you can tap into the Sales Logic Mastermind brain.
But it will not tell you how to bake a cake or make a pie. Just saying.
Yeah. All right, we've got a great show for you today. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, welcome back to a Sales Logic podcast. Now, before Mark tells you what we've got on tap for today, I always like to tell you how the show works. Why? Because we want you, the audience, to be a part of a Sales Logic. If you have a question, post it right here, and we're going to feature you on this podcast. We start with a hot topic, question from you, the audience, recommend a book, and because we want you to get return on investment, we leave with a lightning round. Now, Mark, I got to tell you something really exciting before you tell us how the show works. Bryn Tillman, social media guru, has joined us today. She is also a brand new member of the National Speakers Association. How lucky is our association to have someone as talented as Bryn as a member? I'm so excited to have her within the walls of the association and start collaborating.
Yeah, that's cool because both you and I are belong. You're actually the chairperson, which thank you for your service. And it's a great association of collaborating, experts collaborating together. If you're into the spoken word, you're into the National Speakers Association. So thank you, Bryn. Natalie has joined us. She's one of the members of our mastermind group. But hey,
Natalie.
Let's get on with the show. The topic today is how to fully integrate sales and marketing for maximum ROI. The question comes to us today from Susan in Boise, Idaho. And oh, by the way, I did run it through the Sales Logic Brain here. I run the sales team for a Fortune 500 insurance company. We've been an island for years and quite successful. In December, we got a new head of marketing, and I like her. She was a CRO in some very successful companies, so I feel she really gets sales. It's the first time I've ever seen potential for sales and marketing to work together. What can I do to support her, learn from her, and use this new asset to drive sales? So you know what I did? I naturally put that question into the Sales Logic Brain. And here's what the Sales Logic Brain came back. It came back with some excellent podcasts and some articles to read, but here are five things that really said to jump on. Prioritize communication with her, open and frequent communication with her. 2, learn from her experience. Sit down, spend time with her. 3, collaborate on strategies. 4, support her initiatives. And 5, foster a culture of continuous learning. I love that. 5 great things. But hey, Mare, I bet you got some more ideas, so jump in.
I love this question. I love this topic. Marketing, sales, friend or foe. You know, the reason I love this topic is that you have to understand. So let's answer it from a corporate Fortune 500 company, but also for those of you who operate more like Mark and I do, and you're, individual solo preneurs with a little bit of teen help. Let's talk about sales and marketing. Now, I've been around in the business, oh my God, like 30 years now. And 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, marketing was one department and sales was another department. But around 2004, which was the last year that the economy was hot before the crisis of 2008, it started going downhill. Everything changed. And let me tell you why everything changed, because that became the years where we started this idea that the consumer controlled the buying cycle. And the moment that we moved into a pattern where it is not the product or service that people are buying, but the different experience you can provide or the value you can provide is when marketing and sales became an integrative initiative. I'm not sure if this statistic is right. In some places on the internet, I see that it is. On other places, I see that it's bull, but who cares? Gartner supposedly released a study that said people are 60 to 67% of the way through the buying cycle before they ever interact with a person. Regardless of whether that's the exact statistic, the truth is every single one of us starts buying a product or service by looking and educating ourselves. And marketing is the art of getting your brand out and recognized in the marketplace. So you have to be working together.
Oh, I think that's spot on. I kind of look at marketing as like the air cover, and sales is kind of the ground troops that come in to make it happen. Now, I've in my previous life, I sat in marketing positions in Fortune 100 companies and in sales positions. So I've seen this on both sides from a B2C perspective, business to consumer. And this is a little piece. Susan, you're in the insurance business. So chances are you're probably B2C, business to consumer. And again, that's going to be a little bit different than B2B, but let's frame this up here in some broad strokes. One, marketing is always about creating awareness. Marketing has to create awareness. The step that goes beyond that is, are you de-educating or are you converting? Now, what do I mean by that? Are you de-educating because, the customer is 75% of the way along in the journey and they've got bad information. And you in marketing have to kind of change people's opinions. So those are going to be awareness, solopreneur, that's going to be LinkedIn articles. That might be videos you put out. That may be other things. From a corporate standpoint, that may be trade shows you participate in. There's also this element of, am I converting because they're currently using a direct competitor? Or am I really having to educate you on a new product? And again, that's a completely different piece. But Susan, I love the fact that you got a marketing person that you love. You know what? Make sure your marketing team really understands your sales process. Have them join you on Teams calls, Zoom calls. This is the same thing if you're a solopreneur. You really got to stop and ask yourself, what are all the questions I'm being asked by my customers? What is the LinkedIn article? What's the content I can create that would answer that question, and begin putting that out in social media, begin putting that out on your website, your blog, et cetera, et cetera. All you're doing is you're playing back to the larger world what individual customers and prospects are telling you.
Yeah, Mark, I love what you're saying there, because marketing is only as good as what sales tells them they need, what qualifies a lead, what is good information. But again, for those of us who operate kind of like Mark and I do, yesterday morning, I was on a networking call. Gentleman, guy that I've known in town, God, for probably 35 years. We've both had 4 different careers since we originally met. He's working for probably the largest accounting and wealth management company in the world now. We met and had coffee, and he was asking me questions, and I'd forgotten to take a notepad or anything to write on. And so I went and grabbed a napkin, and I just started writing the questions down that he was asking me. I'm working on scripts for videos that I'm going to shoot, and I'm working on my blogs and my articles for next week. And what I'm going to reach out to my teams, because 4 of the questions he asked me were gold in the way that he phrased them, as I can easily maneuver my products and services to solve those problems. But here's what you need. Here's what I want everybody to take from this as we're having this discussion. It is not the product or service that people are buying. Mark is famous for this. It is the solution. Like, people need to look at my video or look at my article and go, oh my God, I need that. And the only way for me to understand that is to find that information through the sales process. And that's what I was doing yesterday morning. He was feeding me gold. And now I will use that to grow and build my business. But it has to be that marketing piece first.
See, that's the beauty. I love what you said, because from a marketing perspective, you're going to put out some articles, you're going to put out some things, and you're addressing those questions. Sales feeds marketing. what they need to be working on. Now, there's another element here that we got to stop and ask ourselves. It is so easy for us as a solopreneur or even a larger company to expect marketing to deliver sales to us, where all we have to do is get the signature. Hey, salespeople, own up all the way through. Hey, I love when leads come to me. I love inbound stuff, but this does not preclude you in your sales role. Susan, you may love this new marketing person. That's great and so forth, but don't ever let your salespeople off the hook that it's not their job to also go out and create their own leads, generate their own prospects, generate their own business. If it comes in, great, but own it all the way through.
I love what you're saying there, because it's like, I've got another company that I work with that is they're pretty much a marketing company. I mean, unbelievably successful from inbound leads, but we're putting together an outside sales team so that we can get better information to fuel what we're doing in marketing for outbound leads.
See, that brings up a good point. I find so many times is that, well, we got so much stuff coming in, we don't need to be prospecting. Wrong. If for nothing else, to be able to garner that intel, to garner all those insights, that's absolutely key, absolutely critical. Sales and marketing, the old joke, why do we have sales? Why do we have marketing? So each side has someone to blame when the numbers don't get achieved at the end of the quarter. I mean, that's been the old joke, but come on, people. We've got to come together. And again, for the solopreneur, I want you to be thinking about how I align my marketing with my sales. But here's a word of caution to solopreneurs, and I see this all the time. They become so caught up in their marketing efforts that they forget to pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how many times have we seen people become so enamored? Again, you can't take clicks and likes to the bank. Can't do it. You've got to be able to make sure that whatever marketing you're doing is in support of what you're already doing in sales.
Yeah, so well said. Bryn Tillman has given us gold here.
Yep.
Content for sales is so different than content for marketing. Content that converts to sales conversations needs to be, number one, resonate with the buyer. Number two, create curiosity, teach them something new. Number four, get them thinking differently about their current situation. Huge, you got to shift that paradigm. Create a compelling moment. And I love this line, moving them from lurker to engager.
I love that line.
And it may take, this is going to take more than one piece of content getting out there.
It's so well said, because so many times, from a prospecting standpoint, one phone call, one email doesn't suddenly create a customer. It's the same thing with marketing. You've got to be able, I love Natalie's comment, marketing provides messaging for prospecting. It does. This again is one of those things that if I'm going into a specific vertical, if I'm doing a thing, I'm working now on a project just really targeting associations, and I've got some marketing drip that is going to help create awareness over there. So when I come in with my phone calls, etc., there's a little bit of awareness. You got to make sure that the two line up. Marketing goes ahead of sales, but never allow marketing to get so far ahead that sales can't keep up, or vice versa. You've got to be working it together. Love the comment. We're getting some great comments here today.
Yeah, marketing provides messaging for prospecting. So true, Natalie. I just sent out some emails right before the holidays, and now I'm using them as prospecting opportunities to open doors. But Mark, I'm gonna challenge that marketing comes ahead of sales. It does, but it also comes behind sales. Yeah. Marketing happens in the follow-up. I mean, quite a bit. So much of my follow-up system, quite frankly, is far more marketing based than it is than it is sales based. And I think when you were talking about forgetting to make sales calls, we've got one that I love when people out themselves. This is the place to put it out here on the board. We have all done it, Michaela. We have all gotten so caught up in marketing, we forgot to pick the phone up. In fact, I lost a huge deal because I went into marketing mode. Somebody who said, I want to hire you. I want you to speak at our event. I did so much marketing. And then when I was like, they should have booked me by now. By the time I called, nobody else, they'd already booked another speaker. See, nobody cares whether I get the business more than I do, nor should anybody.
Okay.
And therefore, if we don't ask, such a great point, Mark.
We got to remember that the value of marketing is realized when sales makes the phone call. The value of marketing is realized when sales makes a phone call. And so if we expect marketing to do it all, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We have to follow up and make it happen. I love Roberta's comment. This is great. I had the idea to write down the questions that were asked on the webinar I did on Monday. Company's recording failed, and I couldn't have the chat box saved. Yeah, but you know what, Roberta? I bet you can go back through your mind and think of what those questions are. And again, crank out some content. And again, this gives you great material with which to follow up in one-on-one emails, one-on-one phone calls. Again, you're playing back to the customer, the outcomes, the challenges that they're facing.
Yeah, I hear you though, Roberta. So I told you I wrote down those questions. I mean, the point that Roberta is making that I don't want anybody to lose here is when a customer says something, when they ask you a question, write it down immediately. Because I got back to my house after having coffee yesterday morning. I couldn't find that frickin' napkin. And I tore my car because I couldn't get in my head. I could get in the ballpark, but I couldn't get exactly the question he had asked me. And finally, I found the napkin. I'd thrown it out because I was getting trash cleaned up. And sure enough, so I really feel you on that, Roberta. So next time, what you'll know is you write them down immediately.
Great. So this now proves that Mare digs through the garbage to figure out the solutions to her business. Hey, you know what?
Whatever it takes.
Believe me, we have all been there. And this, again, is why your CRM system is so valuable. Because, again, you're having that conversation. You want to hope that you're putting those comments that the customer is making into your CRM system in the notes section. Because, again, this is so key. But what this does is this gives you really an unlimited amount of content that you can use to be following up with customers, to be creating articles, blogs, whatever it might be. It's absolutely key. Hey, I love Exode's comment. I'm in charge of sales and we have someone in charge of marketing communication. Sometimes I say she is doing sales or marketing or communication. I love it when both sides are doing both, but here's the whole thing. And when I was in marketing for a Fortune 500 company, I would hate it when salespeople would try to tell me what to do. Hey, I'll take advice, but please don't tell me what to do, just as you don't want me to tell you what to do. And so respect each other's lanes, have healthy conversations, about advising, but don't get into this blame game because then things begin falling apart very quickly. I love Hugh's comment. Marketing is the big picture. Sales is making it happen. It sure is. It sure is. Yeah. Really think about it. Sales Logic. What's the podcast? That's really marketing that we do.
Yeah, right? It's really marketing to invite people into the mastermind where we really get into the deep work. Yeah. So, Mark, let's transition to the book and to the lightning round. Time is flying today.
I love the book because it's from the master marketer himself, Seth Godin. This is marketing.
Yeah.
Anything that Seth Godin writes, you got to write. If for nothing else, just the amazing way he uses the English language.
Well, the thing that I love about Seth Godin and I love about this book, I think Purple Cow is another great power of marketing, is that it's written in a very simple manner. And it's written for those of us who run a solo operation or for those that run a really big corporation. But I think the biggest thing that I want listeners to take away from today, from the topic and from the book, is that you need to be, Mark, this is a great question for you. How much time do you spend marketing versus selling? And what does that split look like for you?
That's a great question. And you know what? I've never really stopped to figure it out because so many times the stuff just blurs across the top. I get off a phone call with somebody, then I quickly crank out something or I come up with a topic and then they go, I don't know. I'm going to stop and figure that out. What would you say it is for you?
Yeah, so I don't know that I know the split, but I will say that the same, everybody's heard me talk ad nauseum about the consistency of my sales process. I have the same consistency with my marketing. Like I have I have a rigid schedule to my newsletter going out. I have a rigid schedule to my blogs going out. I have a rigid schedule to the publications that I write for. I have a rigid schedule for how many videos I shoot a week and what those need to be focused on. And then my team and I look at the results of that every quarter as to what engagement they're driving. And then we'll make changes. Like we've probably changed my newsletter format up 3 times in the last year because some things are hitting and just some things aren't. And so we're making some changes. So I don't know that I know that number, that question that I asked you, but the rigidity and is rigidity a word? And the consistency are there on both fronts.
Today's word is rigidity.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got very specific in terms of the outcomes I create.
There you go.
I create, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. Hey, I love what Bryn's saying. 5-to-1 ratio for every 1 hour of marketing, it should generate 5 hours of sales activity. Yeah,
that's great.
If you're doing
that
marketing,
is great,
right? I think that is spot on. Here's the whole thing. The vast majority of solopreneurs do not spend enough time selling.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
they spend way too much time playing around because doing marketing stuff, that's sexy, that's fun, that's ooh, this is cool. I'm going to post this and let me check this and so forth. So I love that 5-to-1 ratio. Hey, ready for the lightning round?
Yeah.
Top 10 marketing strategies for 2024 or for any year.
Really. Yeah, really. Number 1 is relevancy. Don't start your marketing plan until you understand the biggest problems that your customers have.
And that means going back and taking a look at everything your customers have told you, the questions they're asking. What can I use from that to create marketing content?
Yeah. Number 3, figure out the medium that your customers most use, or the multiple amounts of media that you're, whether it's writing, whether it's video, whether, publication and articles, that type of thing.
Number 4, make sure your marketing timing is lined up with your sales timing. Don't get one way out in front of the other. Align them as closely as possible.
Yeah, I would say really narrow the focus. Figure out where your prospects are looking for information, and focus your marketing efforts there.
Use your marketing content for your sales follow-up. You may put an article out regarding something. You may put something out. Use that exact same piece or use questions from that or comments from that in your phone calls, in your one-on-one emails.
Yeah, I would say watch and see what really track and measure your marketing efforts and really see what is resonating and what is working, and be very, very open to changing and trying a few new things with your marketing on a regular basis.
Look at what's happening out there in the industry, in your vertical, in your channel, whatever it might be. Play off of quick happening things, what's happening in the news, and embed that into your marketing content to make it extremely timely relevant.
Yeah. Number 9, have a call to action on every single piece of marketing that you've got. Somewhere they can go, something they can find, some other way they can interact with you.
Number 10, measure your results, measure your time. I think from what Mary and I were talking about in terms of time, I'm going to start tracking my time in terms of marketing and sales to see if it's in that 5-to-1 ratio. So anyway, hey, I love Natalie's comment. You can use ChatGPT, but hey, you're a member of the Sales Logic Mastermind, so you can use the Sales Logic brain, Natalie, to find out answers to your questions. Anyway, hey, with that, we want to say, please check out Sales Logic Mastermind. Go to saleslogicpodcast.com and scroll down and you'll see the mastermind. Join us there. Anyway, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, hey, would you consider telling a friend about our show? It's how we grow when we help you grow. And let me tell you something, the podcast is growing like crazy. Hey, I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. Amazing audience today. Thank you for all your ideas. I love the fact that people tap in here. You get a little bit of value from Mark and a little bit of value from me, but you get so much value from the community, which is why we love Sales Logic Mastermind. But we will see you right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic. Until then, go close a deal.